Okay, Brian, stand by a second. I'd like to bring in Rick Allen Ross, who's the founder of the Cult Education Institute. I'm curious, Rick, have you ever heard of this particular cult? How common are these doomsday cults?
Well, they're very common, Elizabeth, and the grandparents contacted me early on. They were very confused. They could not understand what Lori Vallow was doing, why she was doing it, and the power that Chad Daybell had over her.
Wait,
So it was this kind of group is quite common, and they use doomsday predictions to essentially leverage control, to make the people that are following them feel that it is urgent and the only place of safety is with them. And they become more dependent upon the leader to make value judgments for them, to make choices for them. And I think that's what happened to Lori Vallow. I think that Chad Daybell exploited her religiousness and pulled her in with his books and his sermons. And of course, he being a Mormon himself and a graduate of BYU, you could see it almost as affinity fraud.
right, I was going to ask you about that. The whole Chad Daybell, who was the leader of this cult, I believe it was called the Preparing a People cult, believed and told his followers that the world was going to end on July 22nd of 2020. And you say they use that prediction as a way to maneuver and force people to really just do anything and everything because time is almost out and you want to be on the saving side of when the doomsday comes?
Exactly. I mean, for example, David Koresh, the leader of the Waco Davidians, he would make several doomsday predictions. This would bring people into the compound because he would say this is the place of safety. Exactly identical. Chad Daybell said the place of safety was Idaho, and he was pulling people up to Rexburg. It was a small group, but he was growing it, and this was what he conceived. And a lot of it was funded essentially by the insurance proceeds from the deaths of people that were related to the people that followed Chad Daybell.
How often, Rick, do cults like this commit violent crimes like murder?
Well, no, that is not frequent. I mean,
Right.
it is very rare that a group will do this. But in my view, Chad Daybell, his wife became to him an obstacle. She was not that enthusiastic about his books and his career. And so he benefited from a $500,000 from her life insurance policy. Lori Vallow's husband, Charles Vallow, had $1 million insurance policy that she didn't realize would not go to her, I think. And then, of course, her brother, Alex Cox, who later died, killed her husband, Charles Vallow. So there were a number of deaths. There was also another husband of a woman who became involved in this group who they almost killed.
Right.
Uh, he also had an insurance policy.
Wow. Brian, very quickly, Chad Daybell is also accused of these three murders. What are the chances that they're going to turn on each other? Are both of them presenting thus far a united front, even though they will be tried separately? Or is there any chance that one might testify against the other?
There is a chance of that. That's what we're waiting to see, Elizabeth. That's what was so interesting when they separated the trials. We didn't initially think they would be separate. Well, now they are separate. Is Lori going to turn on Chad? It's interesting. Chad Daybell's lawyer has been sitting inside the courthouse watching the jury selection process and plans to watch the entire trial. So clearly he's going to have an advantage here because he's going to watch how everything plays out with Lori's trial and then his trial comes up next.
All right, Brian Enton, Rick Allen Ross, thank you both so much. Rick, I'm sure we'll call upon you again with your expertise on cults as this trial continues. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.